everyone. This is Des. Welcome to the Wellness Project. Thank you for tuning in today. Since Sunday is Halloween, I thought we would talk about fear today. And this is something that we've been chatting about in my Facebook group the past week. Our biggest fears, our irrational fears, how fear can hold us back, things like that. So if you are not a part of my Facebook group, you can go join that. We've been talking about it the past week. And also this Sunday, I'm going to be sending out a long email about what was in the Facebook group. So if you're on my email list, but not in the Facebook group, if you don't have Facebook, I know some of my listeners and followers on Instagram don't have Facebook. If you don't, make sure you get on my email list because I cover everything in depth in the emails typically. So this Sunday on Halloween, you'll be getting a long email all about the topic of fear that we've been chatting about. So what exactly is fear? Here are the definitions that I found. An unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. Fear is an unpleasant feeling triggered by the perception of danger, real or imagined. That's important to keep in mind. It's a natural, powerful, and primitive human emotion. Fear alerts us to the presence of danger or the threat of harm, whether that danger is physical or psychological. Fear is a very powerful emotion and it's physical. When we feel fear, whether it's real or an imagined threat, our bodies react. We get a big reaction. We can start sweating. Our heart starts racing, beating really fast. You know, you've heard the term fight, flight, or freeze. So we have that reaction. I unfortunately am a freeze. I'm not proud of that. I don't like to admit it, but there have been stressful or extreme situations that were emergencies, and I know I've learned, I hate it, but I've learned that I'm not good in emergencies, unfortunately. So let me know if you're fight, flight, or freeze, because I would be very interested to learn that and how you found that out. So according to Google, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what I found on Google. Babies are only born with two fears: falling and loud noises. So babies also don't typically express fear till around like 8 months old. And as we get older, our fears are influenced and learned by our environment and experiences. So this can be direct or indirect. So it could be a direct threat that happened to you, or it could be influenced by like a family member screaming. You're observing that kind of behavior. They see a spider, so they scream. And if you're little, you learn that that thing is scary. So what's the difference between a rational fear and an irrational fear? Rational fear is being afraid of something that's likely to cause you harm. It's a real or imminent threat. Whereas an irrational fear is something that's unlikely to cause harm, or it's an intense fear around an object or a situation. So whether our fears are rational or irrational or real or imagined, we have very real physical and mental responses to fear. It does help, though, however, to distinguish if our fears are rational or not, or imminent or imagined. So it's actually interesting. I looked up a list of the most commonly known fears, and some are typical that you would realize, but some really aren't. I was pretty surprised. So spiders, snakes, heights, flying, bugs, germs, storms, small spaces, dogs. Dogs is one of the most common fears. Interesting. Public speaking, the dark, and needles. Needles, I knew people were afraid of it, but I was still surprised it was on that like top most common fears list. So yeah, some of these I realized were obviously spiders and snakes, heights. Those are really common, but some really surprised me. Small spaces, I guess, makes sense, but that surprised me. Dogs really surprised me, even though I'm afraid of the dark, but that surprised me. That's the most common fear as well. Yeah, so that is the list of the most common fears. So let me know if you are afraid of any of those. I would love to hear it. So our fears could be rational or irrational, right? We can realize that our fears are kind of justified, and we know when we're being silly and like when we have this fear, but we don't know why maybe, or we have this fear, but it's kind of like for no reason. We know a spider's not going to hurt us, but it's still very scary to us. So something that is talked about is that, especially with anxiety, if you have anxiety over certain situations, one of the best ways to get over kind of these more, obviously not threatening fears, but is exposure. So obviously that's very uncomfortable to put yourself through. So if you did want to conquer your fears, you definitely could pick something that you're afraid of and kind of expose yourself to it a little bit. But if you are fine with being afraid of that thing and it's not an issue, then, if it's not causing you to be, if it's not like derailing your life and, causing you to not be able to live a fulfilled life, then whatever. But if you are feeling like you need kind of more assistance with your fears, then I would definitely recommend you seek out a therapist to kind of help you with that exposure if that's something you were interested in and if you wanted to conquer those fears. But if you have a fear of like public speaking, then maybe doing something like Toastmasters would be really great for you because it's not a life-threatening thing. It's not an imminent danger. And that's something that you could actually get better at. It's a skill, and you would get better at public speaking over time with practice. And with the building of confidence and practice, that fear would kind of decrease quite a bit. So I would love for you to journal for a little bit. I'm going to give you a few prompts. So we're going to do some like fear exploration. So what is it that you fear the most? Why is this your biggest fear? Where do you think this specific fear stems from? Do you want to conquer this fear? If so, how do you think you could go about conquering the fear? Okay, so those are just a few prompts to get you exploring your fear a little bit. If you want to share your fears with me, I would love to hear them. You can email me at info@accordingtodez.com or message me on Facebook or DM me on Instagram. I am available on there. So thank you so much for joining me today. And whether you celebrate or not, I hope you have a fun weekend. If you celebrate, I would love to see pictures of your house. I also put that in my Facebook group. I love seeing holiday decorations. So if you decorated, send me pictures. Especially if you're dressing up, I love seeing costumes. I usually decorate and dress up every year, but being that I was sick the last few weeks, last week and the week before, we didn't decorate. Mark was sick also. And by the time we got better, there was only a week left until Halloween. So I didn't see the point in getting all my big bins out of the garage and decorating for just a week. So unfortunately, we didn't decorate this year, but I did, however, make a few t-shirts. I made 3, only 2 came out really well. The other one didn't come out good at all. So whatever, I'll just use that shirt as pajamas or something. But there was a cool craft that I saw online where you use the cutouts, like the wooden ornaments from Dollar Tree, and you use bleach and you spray the bleach on the cutouts on a t-shirt, and it creates this cool pattern. So I'll post a picture on Instagram and Facebook on Sunday, so you'll be able to see. But they came out really well, and I was really happy with that. So I at least did one little festive thing. So but that's about it. Well, I hope you have a great weekend, and I will talk to you next week, and I hope you have a happy Halloween.